There's a dangerous secret hidden behind the greatest victories. A truth the enemy uses to bring down the strongest, not on the battlefield, but in the silence of their own minds. Have you ever felt on top of the world one day and at rock bottom the next? If your answer is yes, then the story we're about to uncover today isn't just about a prophet. It's about you. This isn't the story of how fire came down from heaven. It's the story of what happened next. We're going to dive into the journey of a man who faced 850 enemies, but fled from a single woman. A man who, at the peak of his power, wished for his own death. And most surprisingly, we'll discover how God found him, not in the midst of fire or earthquake, but in a sound most of us ignore: the sound of silence. Brothers and sisters, prepare your hearts. What God revealed to Elijah inside a dark cave at the lowest point of his life is a powerful key to unlock your own restoration. Stay with me until the end, because the same voice that transformed Elijah's despair into purpose will speak to you today. To understand the depth of the fall, we first need to climb the mountain of victory. The stage is Mount Carmel. Israel, the chosen nation, is divided on its knees before a false god, Baal. King Ahab and his wicked wife, Jezebel, had plunged the people into idolatry. But one man rises. Elijah, whose name means "the Lord is my God," issues a challenge that would echo through eternity. He was not alone. The God of armies was with him. Before all the people, Elijah ridiculed the prophets of Baal, and, with a short and powerful prayer, the fire of the Lord fell from heaven. The nation prostrated itself, declaring, "The Lord is God. The Lord is God." Revival seemed to have arrived. Elijah, in an act of zeal, executes the 850 false prophets. The euphoria was total. God's power was manifested. The enemy was humiliated. Have you ever experienced a moment like that? A great victory in your life, in your ministry, in your family? A moment when God's hand was so visible that your faith seemed unshakable? Hold on to that feeling, because it's precisely at this peak of spiritual adrenaline that the most dangerous battle begins. Ahab tells Jezebel everything, and her response is not one of surrender, but of fury. She sends a single messenger with a direct threat. "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like that of one of them." Just one sentence, but it was enough. The man who faced hundreds now flees from one. The prophet of fire, who shut up the heavens for 3.5 years, who raised the dead and summoned the power of Yahweh, now runs to save his own life. He doesn't stop. He runs into the desert as far as he can. Fear paralyzed faith. Why? Why did the hero of Carmel turn into a fugitive in the desert? Here's the first trigger the enemy uses against us: post-victory exhaustion. Elijah was physically, mentally, and spiritually exhausted. The battle was won, but it took a toll. And in exhaustion, the lie of fear finds fertile ground to grow. He walks for an entire day, sinking into the solitude of the desert. He leaves his servant behind, wanting to be completely alone. And then he collapses under a tree. And there, the man who spoke with God makes the darkest prayer of his life. "I've had enough, Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." He didn't just want to give up on ministry. He wanted to give up on living. See the depth of this. Spiritual depression is real. The feeling that all your effort was in vain. The overwhelming sense of loneliness, even after being in the midst of a crowd. Elijah felt like a failure. He looked at the victory on Carmel and, through the lens of Jezebel's threat, saw only his own inadequacy. Have you ever felt this way? As if no matter what you did, it was never enough. How many of us, after a great achievement, feel empty and alone, as if the next battle is too great to bear? Elijah's story shows us that even the giants of faith face the shadow of despair. But even in the deepest darkness, the light of grace finds a way. Elijah sleeps. And as he sleeps, the Father does not rebuke him for his lack of faith. He does not punish him for his desire to die. Instead, he sends care. An angel touches him and says, "Get up and eat." Elijah eats, drinks, and goes back to sleep. God's treatment for his wounded soul begins with caring for his exhausted body. The angel returns a second time. "Get up and eat, for your journey will be very long." What a powerful message. God wasn't just nourishing Elijah's body. He was saying, your journey isn't over yet. I have a path for you. Sometimes the most spiritual word we can receive is rest, eat, take care of yourself. God honors our humanity. He knows we are dust. Before giving us new direction, he first restores us. If you are feeling exhausted today, listen to this voice of care. The Lord is inviting you to receive strength that comes from him, not just to survive, but to continue the journey he has prepared. With the strength of that divine food, Elijah travels for 40 days and 40 nights. A symbolic journey, reminding us of Israel's 40 years in the desert and Jesus' 40 days of temptation. He is no longer fleeing from Jezebel. Now, he is traveling for an encounter. His destination, Horeb, the mountain of God, the same place where Moses received the law. And there, he enters a cave, a place of isolation, of darkness, of introspection. And it is in this place, in the silence of the cave, that the word of the Lord finally comes to him with a penetrating question. What are you doing here, Elijah? God doesn't ask because he doesn't know. He asks so that we may know. He was inviting Elijah to expose his pain, frustration, and self-pity. And Elijah's answer is a lament that many of us have made. I have been very zealous for the Lord, the God of armies. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death. I am the only one left, and now they are also trying to take my life. Notice the narrative Elijah created in his mind. I did everything right, and it was all for nothing. I am alone. This is the enemy's lie when we are in the cave of exhaustion. He makes us feel isolated and forgotten. But God was about to break that narrative in a way Elijah would never expect. If this journey of Elijah is already speaking to your heart, do something prophetic right now. Like this video. Symbolize with this act that you also wish to come out of your cave and have a true encounter with the voice of God. Your help is precious so that this message can reach more wounded hearts. Then, the Lord gives Elijah an order. Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by. Elijah, the prophet of fire and spectacle, probably expected a grandiose manifestation, like that on Carmel. And the spectacle came. First, a wind so powerful that it tore the mountains apart and shattered the rocks. But the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake, a fire. The same element of his greatest victory. But the Lord was not in the fire either. What a profound lesson. Elijah was looking for God in the methods he already knew, in the manifestations of power that made him famous. Often, we do the same. We seek God in the noise, in the event, in the great emotion, in the spectacular conference. And all these things are good, but God was teaching Elijah and us that he is not limited to our methods or our past experiences. The wounded and tired soul doesn't need more spectacle. It needs peace to listen. And after the fire came the sound of a gentle whisper, a soft and delicate voice, a tranquil and gentle murmur. And it was there, in that almost imperceptible sound, that Elijah recognized the presence of his God. He covered his face with his cloak, in an act of reverence, and stood at the entrance of the cave. He was ready to listen. The same voice that spoke in the noise of Carmel now speaks in the calm of Horeb. Why? Because God reveals himself to us in the way we most need at the moment. On Carmel, Israel needed a God of power to break idolatry. On Horeb, Elijah needed a Father of mercy to heal his soul. God's whisper is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of intimacy. Shouts are for the crowd. Whispers are for those who are close. In the midst of the chaos of your life, the noise of worries, the voices of accusation, have you been striving to hear the whisper of Elohim? He is speaking. But to hear, we need to silence the noise from outside and especially the noise from within. Let's do an exercise of faith together. Wherever you are, close your eyes for a moment and repeat with me, aloud or in your heart. Lord, teach me to hear your whisper. Speak to me in the silence. And in the silence, the same question came again. What are you doing here, Elijah? And Elijah gives the same answer, the same outpouring of loneliness and zeal. But this time, God's answer is different. He doesn't comfort him with words, but with a new purpose. God gives him 3 clear missions. Go, anoint Hazael king over Aram, anoint Jehu son of Nimshi king over Israel, and anoint Elisha son of Shaphat from Abel Meholah to succeed you as prophet. In other words, God was saying, Elijah, the story isn't over. My plan is greater than your pain. I still count on you. And furthermore, your perception that you are alone is wrong. And then comes the final revelation that breaks the lie of loneliness. Yet I reserve 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed down to Baal, and whose mouths have not kissed him. 7,000. Elijah felt he was the only one, but there was a faithful remnant he couldn't see, immersed in his own pain. The cave distorts our vision. The voice of God restores our perspective. God didn't heal Elijah simply by saying, "Don't be sad." He healed him by giving him a new mission. The cure for our discouragement often isn't in looking inward, but in looking outward to the purpose God still has for us. The work needs to continue, and He wants to use you for it. Elijah's journey in the cave is the journey of each of us who has faced exhaustion, depression, and loneliness. The lesson isn't that we shouldn't be afraid or feel tired. The lesson is where we run when it happens. Don't run to the desert of despair. Run to Horeb, to the mountain of God's presence. Enter the cave of prayer, not to hide, but to meet with Him. Present to Him your pain, your weariness, your feeling of loneliness. And then, be silent. Turn off the noise of the world. Ignore the voices of the wind, the earthquake, and the fire of circumstances. And wait. Wait for the gentle and quiet whisper. The voice of the Father who doesn't come to accuse you, but to restore you. The voice that doesn't remind you of your failure, but points you to your future. The voice that tells you, "I am not finished with you. Get up, eat, for a long journey awaits you." The same God who had 7,000 men Elijah didn't know has people today who need your story, your testimony, the purpose He has placed in your life. Your cave is not your tomb. It is your starting point for a new beginning. If this message was God's voice to you today, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. Together, we will continue learning to hear His whisper amidst the noise. And now, the most powerful act you can do: share this video. Send it to that person you know is going through a mental battle, who feels alone in their cave. Be God's messenger to them. Comment below. #IHEar the Whisper. Declare that you are coming out of your cave and entering a new time of intimacy and purpose with the Lord. After the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face and went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. 1 Kings 19:12-13.